Hey guys, Greg and Jess here from Drifter Journey. We have a blog, www.drifterjourney.com, and we are drifter.journey on Instagram. If anybody shops on Amazon, which I'm sure some of you do, click the link below. It will give us a little bit of change, which will keep us going. We don't do any editing, so there may be issues here, but we'll get through it. Today we're going to answer one of our most commonly asked questions, which is, where do we stay while traveling? As you can see, we are in a van. We've been living in it for 2 years, and we need to sleep places every night. So, Jess is going to tell you a little bit about where we like to stay.
Yeah, so our preference would be public land. Dispersed camping sites on BLM or National Forest are our favorite choices. We basically just want to go somewhere where it's legal, but where we also have a lot of space and good views. Privacy is nice. So there's a lot of places like this in the West. But it's also hard to find sometimes when we're kind of moving quickly. So that's why we have alternate favorites, which would be truck stops or Walmart. Do you want to talk about our favorite truck stop?
Yeah, so Love's is one of our favorites. We are not sponsored in any way by anybody,
No.
But we find that the Love's truck stops have very clean restrooms. It's well lit, feels safe. There's usually an area away from the truckers that we can park, so it's not quite as loud.
Right.
And if you do get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go in and use the restroom, someone's there and they greet you every single time. And it feels kind of nice when that
Staff
happens.
is very friendly.
Also, if you need some of those cheap little things on little spinny meal things, hot dogs and whatnot,
hot dog.
they're there too. So yeah, Love's is probably our number one truck stop. Walmarts that are 24 hours are also convenient to be able to go in and use a restroom in the middle of the night if you need to. But ultimately, we like to be out in nature whenever possible. So we use a couple apps to be able to find these spots. I think our favorite one is probably iOverlander.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of information on there. It has free camping, has RV sites that you have to pay for, and places to fill up water, do laundry. You name it, a lot of info is there to use. Also, a good one for public lands is actually called Onyx Hunt Maps. It's actually an app for hunters. You do have to pay for it. We don't currently have it, but we have in the past. And that'll actually map down to where you're at specifically, and you can click on each parcel of land and it'll tell you who owns it. So if it's a government property, it'll tell you right there, or if it's private, it'll have the name of the owner, which means you probably shouldn't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
The other thing about iOverlander that's nice is that a lot of times each site will have a history of people who have stayed there and their reviews and information about how easy it was to get there. As in, do you need 4x4 or high clearance vehicle, as well as sometimes they've even attached photos to the spot, so you can kind of open it up and look and see, like, is it a really big spot and can you fit a bunch of rigs there, or is it kind of just like one pull out on the side of the road? And these are all things that are really nice to know when you're looking for a spot. We're not super picky, but we do like to have spots that are kind of off the road, a little bit more private, and a good view is even better. So a lot of times those photos are super helpful to help us understand, like, if it's worth driving, the extra 20 minutes to the next site up the road or not. So
yeah, and that actually brings me back to one thing. When we are trying to cover large distances, so let's say last year we were in Bend, Oregon, and we knew we wanted to get to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There's a lot of cool places in between, and there's also a lot of boring driving in between. So when you're going those long distances, that's usually when you're hitting the Walmarts and the truck stops. We're not even really looking for places in the woods during that. And the Walmarts are all on iOverlander too. It'll tell you whether or not you can stay there. There's actually another app called All Stays.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
it's only for iPhones though, so Android users have to use allstays.com.
But that has information on a lot of Walmarts too, other places like that.
Yeah, it's a common misconception that all Walmarts allow people to sleep in their parking lots. It's not true. It's based on the city ordinance. And a lot of times there's cities that won't allow it in any Walmarts in their city limits. So it's important to check. Otherwise, you may get an unfriendly knock on your van at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Which we did.
Yeah.
Yuma,
Yeah.
I believe. And then the guy actually told us where we could go stay, which was about 500 yards down the street in a parking lot that also had signs saying you couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
But
he was super
very
nice about it.
Very nice about it.
Yeah. Since then, we just make a habit of asking the manager if it's not certain, if we can't tell if it's allowed or not. It's just easier to make sure that we're good. That way we are able to sleep more soundly.
So that's pretty much it for where we stay on the road. We're currently broadcasting from Pagosa Springs, Colorado, and we are in a spot that was from iOverlander. So we'll give you an example of the type of place that we usually stay. And basically we got some woods with a hammock and beautiful skies and no one else really around. So that's where we've been for, well, this exact spot for 2 nights now. We were on a river for the previous 5 nights before this. That was just a little bit outside of town. Like we said, like, comment, ask any questions you have. We want to be here for a resource for you for alternative living. We'll try to come up with more content with the commonly asked questions in the near future.
Do you want to talk about why we don't really stealth camp?
Oh yeah, we got to talk about stealth camping. One other aspect is stealth camping.
There's a third category of places to sleep.
So if you're still with us 7 minutes in, you're going to get the good info here. So stealth camping, which if you don't know is basically when you go and hide in a neighborhood or on any random city street where you may or may not supposed to be. We don't do it a lot because, that's when you're going to get knocked on the most. But if we are in a city or, a location where none of the apps have any locations to go and stay, we'll usually go and just find a nice spot. For us, we're going to try and not park in front of someone's house. We're going to show up late, so usually well after dark. We are going to leave early, ideally before the sun even comes up, or first thing in the morning. We don't hang out and have our tea and all that stuff hanging out in someone's front yard.
Right.
Try to park, usually if it's possible, we have where we'll go in an industrial complex, so we're not near a neighborhood, not in someone's area, basically. Or another option we've done, park outside of, businesses, we did fire station once, which we learned that's probably not the best because the fire trucks come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and wake you up.
It's very loud.
But yeah, we could do a whole thing on stealth camping. But ideally, you being respectful of people and not, hanging out in front of their house and getting the cops called on you, because that's really what's tightening down on van life and making it harder and harder as we go.
Right. And the other reason that we don't stealth camp that much is because we don't have a bathroom in our van, which we'll do a whole nother episode on. But we don't typically have issues with number one, but we like to be at a place with 24-hour bathroom access in case we have issues with poop, because we don't have anywhere to put that in here.
But there are workarounds. We can teach you those too.
Stay tuned.
Comments, like I said, we want to hear from you guys. Anything you have to say, go ahead, leave it below. Subscribe. I don't know if I said that, but we're shooting for 1,000.
Yeah, do it.
Thank you.